Howdy guys, welcome back to the Arena Seal League set evaluation. I'm Bill D, uh, Cato in the Discord,
And I'm SpaghettiMitch in the
and
Discord.
and we're gonna start off with black. Uh, First card up is a common Blood Fountain. It's one black for a artifact that when it enters the battlefield, you create a blood token. And then its later ability is 3 and a black, tap, sacrifice Blood Fountain, return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand.
I am such a fan of this card, actually. Usually not the greatest fan of returning things to your hand at 4 mana, because you can get that for less. In our Seal League, that effect is actually really good because of the slowness of it. But I'm a fan of this 1 mana, get a blood token on the field, so much for limited. You'll see this in the red examples too. Getting a blood token early mitigates the bad luck, the flood or the mana screw so much, and that's basically why I'm a fan of this.
Yeah, you smooth out your draws so well. You just like toss it out there, get a blood, toss whatever you don't care about. If it's a creature, you get it back. Um, I always like playing one of these. Uh, this can be up to like 3 cards theoretically, like in value.
Add that
Um,
to vampires have a lot of ETB and death effects, and the set in general has a lot of them. You get extra value from your creatures entering and leaving. I take this really high for a common, something like C or C plus. I think
I
C.
think I think I take the first one at C plus.
Yeah,
And like I would play 2 if I really had a heavy blood deck with like creatures I wanted to bring back.
yeah. First one at C plus actually. I can't praise it that much and not give it a C plus at least. All right, next we have Gift of Fangs. It's 1 black. It's an aura, and it says enchanted creature gets +2/+2 as long as it's a vampire, and otherwise it gets -2/-2. So a dead weight if it's not a vampire. Don't play this on your opponent's vampires. Someone did that to me. I was happy and I won because of it. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
this is undead weight. Um,
I like the card as an early removal, but yeah, it has that downside where it's not actually a removal. I don't think I've ever used this to buff my vampire, to be honest. So maybe it's a bit worse than dead weight.
I think I buffed a vampire. I definitely destroyed myself because I was just like, oh yeah, 1 toughness creature, and it was the opposing blood petal celebrant, and I just got destroyed. So be
Oh,
careful. Check the creature type.
yeah.
But C plus for me, I think.
I think I'll give it a C. Has that downside where it doesn't do what you want it to do, and there's decent cheap removal in this, although not great.
Yeah.
Persistent Specimen.
Persistent Specimen is a black mana for a 1/1 skeleton. A common, it has 2 and a black, return Persistent Specimen from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So this is kind of the repeatable exploit creature. It's not very big and it's slow, but it can certainly work.
As we talked about in the blue set review, it's got exploit written all over it, and exploit's not the strongest mechanic in this set. But if you're gonna get an exploit deck working, you picking up 2 of these is just fine because you need something sacrificable, and that's what this card does.
Yeah, and its fail case is you like block something and bring it back. If they don't have trample, you can dork some big creature. So probably a C minus or D plus.
I'd say C minus. I'm happy to get this if I actually want. I mean, it's actually good with blood tokens too, because you throw away something that comes back. I have noticed that as far as chump blocking goes, there's a lot of trample and there's a lot of menace in here, so chump blocking is not going to be as common as some sets. So
Yeah.
that makes this a bit worse. So I'm going to give it C minus, even though it has a lot of utility in a couple of decks. This is Poor Man's Skeleton. Your thing comes back. It's called Undying Malice. Costs 1 black, it's an instant, and until end of turn, target creature gains. When this dies, return to the battlefield under its owner's control with a 1/1 counter on it. At least it gets better than it was. It's great with death effects or ETB effects. That's where it's strongest. If you have a bomb, you can protect it with this, in a way. So that's good. This card's seeing more play in this set than this type of card usually sees, I find. Still not amazing. Still like D+, I think.
Yeah, I think C or C plus. The cards that either allow you to upgrade or to trade, and black and red creatures trading pretty strong, I think helps us out. And
I'm gonna put it in the D range unless you have those ETB or death triggers, because otherwise it's actually not good at all. It's not something you want to put in your deck. It's gonna be cut often, I think. But yeah, if you have synergy with it, I put it at even C if you have good synergy with it.
yeah, I'm usually somebody who likes to have like kind of the shields up for the stuff I play. Because usually if they're spending a removal spell on it, they're gonna spend more mana and they want it dead. So you kind of like trade your card value up
Yeah,
and protect your biggest thing, but
Bleed Dry
it's
counters
still not.
that, but Bleed Dry is only one card, I guess.
Yeah. So I
Bleed Dry
C
counters
minus
everything.
for me. I'll usually play one.
All right. You know what? I said between D plus and C, so yeah, put me down to C minus too, depending. So we got Doom Dissenter. It's 1 and a black. It's a reprint, so it's just a human that's a 1/1 and it dies when it dies. So you get the death trigger of getting a 2/2 black zombie token.
Solid card.
If I'm lacking 2 drops, I'm very happy to play this and upgrade after jumping. Something like
Yeah.
a C minus.
Yeah, I'd like a C in the exploit decks and um, C
Yeah,
minus if you're aggro.
yes, it's excellent with exploit actually. You're upgrading your creature, get the exploit trigger. Yeah, heavy exploit. That'll be a C for me too, but in general C minus. A lot like the last card we saw, same kind of rating. Here's another 2 drop.
The Mind Leech Ghoul is 1 in the black for a zombie creature. It exploits. When Mind Leech Ghoul exploits a creature, each opponent exiles a card from their hand. I don't like this card that much because I think you're usually just knocking off a land for a card. I mean, sure.
It's a filler for the exploit deck. I mean, if you need a 2 drop, you play this. It even can exploit itself if need be. Not amazing though. It's super filler, and it's for exploit, which is a mechanic which is not proving to be incredibly strong. It's just that 2 drop. That you'll find it when you need it. I'd say it's like a D.
Yeah,
Replaceable.
D.
Ooh, our first black flip card here that yeah. So it's
Yeah,
called Ragged Recluse. It's a human peasant. It's a 2/1. At the beginning of your end step, if you discarded a card this turn, transform a Ragged Recluse, or Ragged Recluse, probably Ragged. It turns to Odious Witch, which drains for 1 when it attacks. Seeing this played a lot, I've played a few of them in my red-black decks. It has Blood Token written all over it. You can... I've had turns where on turn 5 I've discarded a card with Blood Token and played 2 of these. And then we just got 2/3/3s out of the deal. Not the most impressive card, but it's a fine 2-drop that turns into something that even drains. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's good in that it's a 2-drop with a lot of upside. I mean, swinging alone, this thing's like a 5 life point swing because you get a life, they lose a life, so they lose 4 and you gain 1, so 5 total swing. It's a 2-drop that upgrades itself if you don't do that much work. A 2-mana 2/1's really low, so it starts off bad but gets better. I like it as a C, C plus. It's so
I
important that it's just a 2-drop per filler though.
It's if you don't have blood, it's terrible. Do not play this at all if you don't have blood. So seeing how it's really easy to get blood in black red or black decks, but especially black red, I think you can reliably take this at C.
Yeah.
It's just not hard to get blood, as we know from having played the set for a couple weeks now. And another easy way to get blood.
Yeah, the Vampire Kiss, 1 in a black for a sorcery common. Target player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Create 2 blood tokens.
Our first instance of
I
2.
you get 2 blood tokens, but you're spending a card to do not a lot. I think this card is an F.
I'm not
I
gonna
would
give
not
this
play it.
F. It's not good. It's definitely in the D range for me. But the thing is, there are cards that utilize blood tokens specifically. We haven't seen one yet. If you really need, if you have your deck loaded with those cards, having a couple of extra blood tokens can help. Also, early blood tokens, as I've said, help the mana screw, mana flood. If you have no other 2 mana plays, put this as your 23rd card or whatever. I could see this being D minus. And next, Aim for the Head. 2 colorless and a black. It's a sorcery. It's the hand discard card of the set. You can either choose one: exile target zombie, or target opponent exiles 2 cards from their hand. Exiles, even better than discard, in this set especially. Never seen this used for the exile zombie part because probably card removing zombies doesn't come off as a necessity all that often. Yeah, this gets around the same grade this kind of card usually gets for me, so like D plus ish.
Yeah, I think so. Although the art is great. It's like the zombie got the best idea in the world and then arrow through the head.
Works every time. Yeah, it's true. I
Works
didn't
every
even know
time.
that. Or is he just
I guess
Oh no, I think he's
that's
examining it because he's like, oh, I'm already that. It doesn't really affect him.
I think works every time is like the joke because Mind Rot's been like the most reprinted card, right?
Oh,
Like
is that
some Mind Rot.
it's hidden meaning there? Yeah, this is the mind rat of the set. I don't know if he's getting an idea or he's just like examining. Ooh, that's a cool thing that just went through my head. Yeah,
um,
so D plus.
D
You know,
plus.
I'm waiting till it. What's the best zombie it could hit? There must be something huge that I'm not thinking of.
The Rot Tied Gargantuar. The 5 mana
What color is that in?
black.
Oh, I guess we'll see it soon. Next card.
Yeah. The Courier Bat, 2 and a black for a 2/2 flying bat, which is on par. Um, when it enters the battlefield, if you gain life this turn, return up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Uh, so it's like a do work flying gravedigger, which I like. I've never gotten to play this yet. But if you have life gain consistently, you should put this in your deck.
This has to be best friends with the trying to remember the name. 1/1. Traveling Minister that gains you a life and adds an attack to any creature.
Yeah.
This is a great card if you're getting that every time. This is a great card. If you have a few of those ministers maybe in your deck, this is a really good effect for just a 3 mana 2/2 if you're getting the life. Obviously, the floor is a 3 mana 2/2 flyer. Who cares?
Yeah,
It's
if
solid.
it's I mean, and if it's repeatable, it's not hard to chain these things because you can just, you know, get one back. If you have 2, they start chaining as long as you're gaining life.
Fill your deck with just these and traveling ministers,
Yeah.
and then you're
C
not
plus
losing
for me
life.
if you can enable it.
I think it's
Maybe just C.
it's super average. See, I'm pulled into it if I already have life link or life gain, but it has to be reliable for me to really want this. So I think C is right.
Yeah.
Next we have Desperate Farmer. Oh, cool little card. So the Desperate Farmer is a human peasant. It's a 3 mana, so 2 colorless and a black. It is a 2/2 that has lifelink, and when another creature you control dies, you get to transform it into a vanilla 4/3 lifelink. His horse came back to life, and he's riding it now. He's a human knight now instead of a
This
peasant.
card is like great. This is super good. I like Desperate Farmer a lot. It's not hard to activate it if you want to, generally, because you can kill your own stuff.
4
You
mana
know,
life swings are serious if not dealt with right away. Even if it is blocked and dealt with right away,
yeah.
solid 4 mana life for life gain. Only issue is getting something to die, but it doesn't seem to be that hard in this set, especially with exploits. And yeah, and life gain helps in the black white deck too. I haven't played with this too much, but I expect it's like a C.
I'm gonna give it C plus. It's beaten me enough that I respect it a lot.
Okay.
This is the Gluttonous Gust.
Oh yeah.
Um, I love the Goblet. This is a 2 and a black for a 1/4 vampire at common. This has when Gluttonous Gust enters the battlefield, create a blood token, and whenever you sacrifice a blood token, you gain 1 life.
Yeah. This is a
Pretty good
well-designed
common.
card if you look at it.
Yeah.
It's got life gain for the black-white. It's got blood for the black-red. It's got big butt for the black-green. And black-blue. Yeah, you don't want to
Yeah.
sacrifice it.
I think it does enough things that it's totally playable, kind of replaceable. But it's a super good enabler. I mean, it's just it's a solid card to play. It does what you want.
It's not hard to have black-red decks that just constantly sack blood, and that turns this into, like, even with one of these on the field, like gain 5 life, gain 6 life. You got 2 of these on the
Yeah.
field. I saw a deck with this and a ton of those 3 mana 4 mana 3/3s that have menace and they can grow to a 5/5 if they attack, and just deck with those and these, like 4 of each or something I played against. It's really hard to race when they got a few of these on the field and you're sacking blood. So what do you rate it?
I would give this a C. And if you start losing blood, like if you're not using a lot of blood in your sealed deck, it might not be good. But definitely it's I think just a C overall.
I think in our Seal League, building around blood could be really strong because of the consistency. I can't praise blood enough, and this does give you a free one. Although on turn 3, it's not as important. I think C sounds perfect for this card for me.
Yeah, blood is smooths out stuff.
Next we have Pointed Discussion. It's the card draw spell of the set for black that hurts you for 2, but it gives you a blood token as well. So it costs 2 colorless and a black, and you draw 2 cards. Lose 2 life and get a blood. Small Talk is a dying art. Because of all the random lifelink in black decks, the 2 life doesn't hurt as much. This is like 3 cards. This is actually very close to draw 3 cards, especially in limited. You're going to have a land to pitch by the time you want to play a 3 mana draw spell, usually. This is very close to draw 3 cards for 3 mana and lose 2 life, of course. I actually like it more than this normally is. So, I mean, I would give these cards usually in the D range, high D, C minus, but I think I'm giving the C.
Yeah, I think CC minus in draft. I think it's like in black. It may not be what you will want to be doing just because you're trying to go so fast and you're getting blood through other means that you don't really need a draw card spell. But yeah, I think this card's fine. C minus.
The more you draw, the more you're able to discard if you get lands to your other blood tokens. I don't know. Yeah, it's not a high pick, but yeah.
It's like better than a divination. I think you do lose 2 life, but
it's got to be removal of the set for me.
yeah. Bleed dry is 2 black for an instant. A common target creature gets -13 until end of turn. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. Really good. Exiles, kills basically everything. Instant speed. Removal is not common in the format.
Not like the one we just experienced in Midnight Hunt. Nope. My favorite thing about this, you said the exile part, but there in white, there's a few ways to give your creatures indestructible, and this hoses even that, which is great when their win condition is keep their thing alive. -13, no problem. It kills the 1/13.
Yeah, it kills pretty much everything.
We're about to see that 1/13 too. 5 mana, sorry, the 4 mana instant black removal card is usually good. It's even a little better in this set, probably because of what's going on. I think I give this a B. It's super high pick order for me.
I mean, I just think that because removal is so lacking in this set, that in draft especially, that the first one you take of these is almost at an A minus. Probably a B, B plus is what I'm gonna give it, but this is first pickable over anything other than a bomb rare, I think.
Speaking of bomb rares, we said it a few times. The set's driven by these rares that you have to deal with, and this is a way to do it on your turn even before they even untap. before you untap. I mean, if you kept 4 mana open. Yeah, I'll give it a B, but I could see B plus as well. This card I mentioned before, it's Blood Crazed Socialite. It's 4 mana, so 1 black and 3 colorless. It's Menace. It enters and gives you a free blood token, and it can use blood tokens. The first example we see of this, where when it attacks, you can choose to sacrifice a blood token, and if you do, it gets 2/2/2 till end of turn, meaning on turn 5 it's attacking as a 5/5. What do you think?
I mean, it's not hard to reliably make this a 5/5 menace. In your heavy blood decks. This card's real good, I think. Or not really good, but it's definitely above average.
I'm seeing a lot of these in draft. It's a very common card to see in draft. I'm not sure about our sealed league, but it's all over the place in draft, and it's not hard to get this attack as a 5/5 menace, which is a real deal in your vampire decks.
Yeah, and it's got good 17 lands data behind it too. It's improves win rates. So
as far as black commons, it's probably up there. I'd probably give it a C plus even. Put 4 of these in your
yeah,
deck, you can't go wrong.
I think the only thing limiting it from C plus is that it's not like you're not gonna play like a ton of these, but it's good.
Yeah, it's not good. It doesn't play defense that well, but the menace. Here's the thing I like about menace. They double block and you have mana open. It's asking to win the game on the spot because you're gonna kill 2 things with their block.
Yeah.
Especially when this is a 5/5, they gotta double block you to not take 5 damage. Yeah, I like that C+. There's another card we see a lot of.
Diagraph Scavenger. It's 3 and a black for a zombie bear 2/3 that has Death Touch. When Diagraph Scavenger enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. If a creature card was exiled this way, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life.
Yeah.
Really strong card, I think. Pop off some card that you don't want in their graveyard anymore. Trade for something annoyingly huge on the ground.
It
And
reminds me of an Orzhov card from Ravnica Legion's Carrion Imp, which just had this and flying. I don't think it hurt them for 2, but it gained you 2. It didn't have Death Touch, it just had flying.
yeah.
It's just a utility card that just seems to be good in a lot of situations. Death Touch, obviously great, especially when you have 3 health on your Death Touch things. Doesn't even die to a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Hosing cards in their graveyard's a thing. Solid C for me.
I'm gonna give this guy a C plus. He's played out really well, this little bear.
I could see C plus. It's probably, you know what, I think I'll join you on C plus after having played this set a bit. It's probably something that got knocked up for me, knocked up a third of a grade. Not half a grade, I was gonna say that. LR seems to call it half a grade a lot. It's a third of a grade.
Yeah.
Next one, we have Tied Gargantuar. It's a 5-drop, 3 colorless and 2 black. It is a 5/4 with exploit, and the exploit is each opponent sacrifices a creature. So basically, you're sacrificing a creature, they're sacrificing a creature. You hope to have 1 creature on the field for this, and you can deal with your Averbuck Caretaker. Although, good luck on that. Good luck on them playing Averbuck Caretaker on an empty board. It doesn't belong on an empty board. What do you think of this?
Definitely a worthwhile card to play. Can't play too many of them. It's painful if they just sack some 1/1 to it. But it can be dominating. I mean, you can really.
To me, it's replaceable 5/4. Black seems to get like a chunky 5/drop every set, and they seem to always be replaceable. I can't see this. There's too many situations where the exploit's not good enough for me to be interested in this. It just
Yeah.
happens so much that it's not good enough.
If you
Especially
have
if they
some,
have a removed
if you
card
have
with.
some decayed stuff, if you have like, you're splitting mid and you have decayed zombies, it's like a really nice trade for a decayed zombie for some creature.
And in our sealed league, actually, just beefy creatures, 5 drops, you can win with just playing a bunch of those in your deck. It's the speed of
Yeah,
the
5
format.
mana 5/4 is not bad. Probably a C for me.
Oh, Gargantua? I think I'd give it C minus.
Yeah, I might join you there. You're not playing too many of them,
Unhallowed Phalanx.
but the Phalanx is a 4 and a black for a 1/13 zombie soldier that enters tapped.
The biggest butt, maybe in history of Magic.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the meme is that there's that catapult card that you can -13, or if you have Giralf, you can make a 13/13 flying zombie.
Oh yeah,
Um,
couple niche synergies with this card. That's supposed to block but can't block right away.
yeah, and in Seal, it's not a bad blocker, but it doesn't really win you the game unless you're doing something else with it.
It freely blocks the ground of one creature for the rest of the game, unless they hard remove this, basically. But there's a lot of... You usually win with evasion anyway. It's not usually by getting in with one creature. But it blocks any big creature.
Yeah, this thing becomes really good if you have equipment.
Not too much in this set, but our Seal League you can do that.
Yeah, if you randomly get some really good equipment, this thing wears equipment super well.
Yeah, buff it. It wants to have its attack buff permanently, basically. I can't rate this too highly, but there are memes with it. It's probably like D plus in terms of pick order and draft.
Yeah, D plus is probably where I'd give it.
I haven't done those memes yet with the big. You just mentioned two of them, but there's also the black green signpost uncommon. There's the
Yeah,
fling.
black green you can attack as a 13/13.
So you can fling it. You can attack as a 13/13, and the Giralf.
And Giralf, yeah. I think those are the three.
I'm going for that. Sometime. And our last.
Oh, and
Yeah.
if you cast the Flourishing Fox, it gives you 13 life.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Grizzly Ritual is our last black common, and it's another way to get 2 blood tokens. It just says for 5 colorless and a black mana, it's a sorcery. It says destroy target creature or planeswalker, and you get those 2 blood tokens. You can always tell who's new from the screaming. This is not the strongest card in draft because of how slow it is for a 1/1. Though you get 2 pseudo cards out of the 1/1. In our Seal League, this is great, I would say, because of the slowness. And not much more to say than that. It's the slow sorcery removal of the set for black.
Yeah, I think that there's better removal that is out there in the other sets. Oftentimes, I think for this league early on and for draft, because it's so rare, it's a totally fine include. Being able to destroy anything.
I'm a big fan of the 2 tokens and not one for this. I'm gonna give it a C minus. It does what it does, and the 2 tokens could be really relevant.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And I think Limited Resources said in one of their recent podcasts that this is it's reasonable because, if you ever can't use it or it's too slow, you can discard it to a blood token and try to find something that's going to help you more immediately. Which, I think is important in the blood stuff. Like you really are encouraged to make every turn as good as it can. And don't care about discarding stuff.
Yeah. Our uncommons now. We have Dreadfuge. Okay. Dreadfuge is 1 black mana. It says target player reveals their hand. You choose an online card from it with mana value 2 or less. That player discards that card. And if you pay 3, which is the cleave cost, so a black and 2 colorless, its target player reveals their hand, and you can choose an online card that they have to discard. It's your typical 1/1 discard that has cleave. Not too impressed by this. I've never seen it cast. 1/1's not great it is fine in a constructed format where you're playing a control deck and they're playing aggro. Slap this on turn 1. That's probably why the card was printed.
Yeah, I just don't, like people will commonly play 2-drops in drafts, so you can toss one of them, but
And the sideboard.
it's a 1/1.
Sideboard, if you know what's going on and who you're playing against, sure. But I think it's like a D minus pick order.
Yeah, it gets worse in sealed because 60 cards, they're going to have that card you want to throw away a lot less of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Groom's Finery is a 1 and a black for an artifact equipment at uncommon. Equipped creature gets +2/+0. It gets an additional 0/2 and has Death Touch if something else is or itself is wearing the Bride's Gown, which we covered in a previous one. And equip 2.
Yeah, it's
Mm,
basically the same. Uh-oh, now we have to remember what we gave the other one. How consistent are
well, I have
we?
the spreadsheet. It's pretty bad, I think, in sealed because it's going to be very tough to have them both on the field at the same time. I think we gave it a D plus, both of us, which I think I would give it again.
Yeah, I was gonna say D plus. Not unplayable, but it's definitely not what you want to be taking early. It's not even close to as good as we've seen for most equipment recently. Here's a great card, Parasitic Grasp. So it's another cleave card. It costs 1 and a black, instant. It deals 3 damage to target creature, human creature, and you gain 3 life. But if you pay 1 extra black, so 2 black and a colorless, it does 3 damage and you gain 3 life, but it can be to any creature. So it's a nice life gain, which is what I like about this card most. It kills most relevant things in the set. What do you think of it?
Yeah, it's like a little. It's kind of a mana helix or a lightning helix if you're playing humans, and a 3 mana deal 3 gain 3. Otherwise, pretty
I,
good. I think
I,
B
I've been
minus B.
yeah, I've been impressed by this card. It doesn't look incredible just on the face of it to pay that for that effect if you don't hit a human, but it's been working out really well. So I think B minus, nice removal. I'm happy to pick up.
Yeah, it saves you a lot of life over the long run.
Yeah, nice instant removal there.
Um, the Restless Bloodseeker is a vampire. It's 1 and a black, uncommon for a 1/3 vampire. It has at the beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, create a blood token. So it's a blood generator. And then you can sacrifice 2 tokens, transform it, and transforms into a 3/3
As a sorcery.
vampire
Yeah.
that has a sorcery that has a drain effect for 5 mana, 2 life, and you gain 2 life. Strong card. Um, maybe one of the only ways that you can. There's not a lot of things that you can just sacrifice blood tokens to without paying the mana. So this and
We've seen one so far, which is the Menace Attacker,
the
I
Menace
believe.
Attacker.
We're gonna see a
Um,
couple more. This at its base is a 2 mana that gives you a free blood token, which I'm a big fan of, as I explained before. The transform effect is just gravy, and the gravy is good because it's a win the game eventually card, giving you blood along the way.
yeah, I, I don't think you play it. I mean, you can play it if you don't have any life gain, and I probably would, but it gets a little bit worse.
I'm totally wrong.
Um,
I said it gave a blood token for free. It does not. Yeah,
yeah,
you're right. Yeah, this is. You don't have to be in black white gaining life on this because if you gain blood, it gains life by itself. So it actually works by itself here on the back.
yeah. It's a bit slow, but it definitely gets you the blood you need if you're a vampire or other.
On,
Probably C plus, B minus.
on 2 mana 1/3, I'm very happy to play this. There's a lot of incidental life gain. That's how much it depends. It depends on the incidental life gain, in my opinion. I think I'd give this B minus. There's a lot of ways to freely get life, and if it does, this can end the game and give you value along the ways.
Yeah,
I like it at B minus. Here we have Undead Butler. It's a 2-drop, 1 black, 1 colorless. So it's a 1/2, and it mills you 3 cards when it ETBs, when it enters the battlefield. When it dies, you may exile it, and when you do, return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So nice value there. This has exploit written all over it, because I mean, I've shocked this thing. I've used that shock that exiles a bunch of times because it's dealing with the creature they're gonna get out of it. The mill 3 can help. It helps somewhat, I guess. It helps fuel his death ability. is what it does.
Yeah, I like this card. I'm always happy to play it. Probably a C plus.
And I just realized Undying Malice, don't use it on this because it says when it dies you may exile it, meaning the Malice wouldn't matter.
Yeah, if it comes back, you're just getting a 2/3 that mills 3 cards. And like if you didn't hit any creatures your first time, you don't have to exile it, so you can let it die.
What did you
But
give this?
probably a C plus.
I think I'd take it at like C. It's it gets a card back, but not every time. They have to. Nice chump blocker too. I think I'll give it a C. It seems better than I thought it would be though.
The Archghoul of Thraben is a 2 and a black for a zombie cleric 3/2 at uncommon. And it has whenever Archghoul of Thraben or another zombie you control dies, look at the top card of your library. If it's a zombie card, you may reveal it and put it in your hand. If you don't put the card in your hand, you may put it into your graveyard.
So surveil, or you draw a zombie.
So its floor is a 3/2 that surveils 1 when it dies, which is totally fine.
Yeah. If you have other zombies on the field, makes all those do the same death trigger. And there's a bunch of zombies hanging around.
Yeah.
And sometimes,
if you swung with an exploit army, is it how many do you surveil? Is it for each zombie that dies?
Yeah. Whenever. Yeah. It's each zombie. The floor is just fine, and the upside is you keep surveilling or if you're filling your deck with zombie cards. This is better in two ways. You have zombies on the field to hit the trigger, and you're drawing cards, not surveilling. You actually draw if you find a zombie on top. And if two things trigger at once, yeah, you can throw a land away from the top, and then your next one might be a zombie, in which case you draw. This is a solid card. Build it with zombies.
I think if you have no zombies in your sealed deck except for this one, I would still play it.
Yeah. 3 mana, 3/2. That gets value when it dies.
Which makes it a C plus for me.
I'd say C plus sounds right. Yep. Solid card. We have Catapult Fodder, a 3 mana 1/5. It is a black card for 2 colors and a black. Zombie. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, if you control 3 creatures who have toughness greater than their power, aka Big Butt, you can transform it. And on the backside, it's a 2/6, so it gets +1/+1. It has the ability 2 colors and a black, sacrifice another creature, target opponent loses life equal to its toughness. So you want to fling the big butts. Fling meaning you throw the creature at your opponent's face.
Yeah, I found this thing a little bit too slow. If it transformed into something that was a brawler, it would be really good. But to activate it, you have to fill your deck with things that aren't fighting very well.
On the bright side, if you fill it with the only big butt stuff, it's going to be hard to kill you, in which case this is an inevitable win condition.
Yeah.
Inevitable win I have not played with this card. I've not been flung. I could see the black-green deck getting great value out of this. Sorry, not great value. Getting a win condition out of this, if in the right deck. I haven't seen it yet. It's if you're playing the defensive game, the flinging them to your face can end the game eventually.
I think it's like a C and a build around C plus, I think.
Yeah, I'm somewhat but not incredibly interested in this if it's not built around. It's probably like D plus if I'm not building around it. I think it actually gets a full up to a C plus because it's a win condition if you're building around it.
Yeah, it can be very threatening if it's flipped, but it's a lot of work to get there. I have a couple of these in my pool, and I flipped it a couple times, but it feels like usually by that time I'm behind. So that's at least what it's felt like playing it.
You want the I'm just looking for the name. Yeah, Unhallowed Phalanx. I think way more if you have a couple of those. So yeah, I'd give it
Fell's,
build around C+, D+ otherwise.
Fell Stinger is a really good card. It's 2 and a black for a 3/2 zombie scorpion with Death Touch that has Exploit. When the creature enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature. Target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life when you sacrifice a card. So floor on this thing is it can exploit itself, and you draw 2 cards and lose 2 life, which basically makes it
Divination that hurts you.
yeah. Or what's the card from the previous set? Not pointed discussion, but it's
I don't remember. There's been a few
can't
black cards
remember.
like that.
It's
This is one of the
uh
best exploit payoffs, so I'd say.
yeah, and you can also just basically drop it in and kill them if they have two 2 life you need to knock off. Um, I think it's really good if you have something that's exploitable.
Well, its
'Cause
floor. Its floor is even. You could even just be a 3-mana 3/2 Death Touch. Death Touch is relevant, and there's a lot of big butts in this set.
yeah,
I like this as a recursion target, which there's a few ways to do it. It's awesome.
yeah.
First time
I
I got
mean,
this played on me was to kill me. By the way, I was at 2 life.
yeah. I mean, its ceiling is really high. You exploit something worthless, and basically this thing's going to trade off, and you're going to get a couple cards out of it.
Very solid card. I want to give it B-.
B minus. I think I'm just going to give it a straight B.
Yeah, makes sense.
I love little death touchers. They seem really important in this set.
The high attack on Death Touch is funny, but yeah, it could just it's a 3/2. And keep in mind, pointed discussion does not target face, but this one can.
Yeah.
Hero's Downfall is black 1. Apparently, this was a rare back in the day. It's an uncommon here. It's a destroy target creature or planeswalker. Very simple. It's like murder, but can hit planeswalkers.
Yeah, it's like better than murder. Pretty good.
Yeah, and yeah, so we said how important removal, especially instant removal, is in this set, since there's not too much great removal as compared to Midnight Hunt. And do you like Bleed Dry or this better? I think I like Bleed Dry better. Gets around the Indestructible and the Exile. It gives the other one gives minus.
Yeah,
and
it's really
exile.
hard to get. It's really hard to get blown out with Bleed Dry.
What do we give Bleed Dry? B. What do we give
B plus, A minus, close to A minus. I think we give it B plus. I think this is still. This is still a B plus. Just maybe B. Maybe B.
It's still awesome. I think I give it B. Removal. The solid removal is usually just at B, unless you get more out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I would almost never, ever, ever cut murder from my deck or my sealed league deck.
It's what you need in unlimited removal. We have Bloodsworn Squire here.
Bloodsworn Squire is 3 and a black for a 3/3 vampire soldier. As 1 and a black, discard a card. Bloodsworn Squire gains indestructible until end of turn. Tap it. Then you can transform it. If you have 4 or more creatures in your graveyard, and it gets Star, power and toughness equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. And it can still discard as a card and get indestructible. A card that looks like it's going to be strong, but
Discarding
I don't
a
know. Have you
card.
played with this?
I actually have
And
2 in my sealed league, and I played 1 in a draft once. Discarding. Well, this is one way to feed. What's it called? The feast card. Where I've mentioned it a few times. If you discard a card, you get a skeleton. It's one way to feed that. The problem is when you're playing with a lot of blood tokens, you don't have too much crap to discard, as usual. I said I played this a few times, but I very rarely flipped it. I think because I like the fountain too much, and stuff gets exiled too much, so it's hard to actually flip it unless you're discarding real cards like creature cards. Then it is like it chump blocks anything. if you make it indestructible. I don't think it's super strong, but it gives an inevitability with the size it can be at the on the backside here.
Yeah, I think I just, like if it was gonna be between this and the diagraph thing, I would take the diagraph in I mean, in sealed, like you might be able to get to the point where you have an indestructible, you know,
Giant creature.
6/6 or 7/7 if you're just,
I like
like
it way better in our sealed league, and I have two of them.
yeah,
I haven't gone off with it yet, but not incredibly easy to deal with something that has its threat of activation too. You don't have to do the
yeah,
thing.
yeah. This is a card that gets better in really long grindy formats like sealed, where I mean, you can just basically throw it in, tap it, and block with it, and instantly transform it.
So on average, what grade does it get? I think it's not incredible. I'd say it's like I'd say like C. I'm gonna say C or C minus.
Yeah, I think a C. I mean, it has.
It's
I
not
don't
free
pick this
to.
very highly in draft, but I would definitely play it in sealed.
It's far from free to give it indestructible. I think it overall it's gonna get C minus for me, but I want to make it work since I have two of them in my sealed league.
Um, Innocent Traveler is. Oh, I think you were reading Innocent Traveler. Creepy card.
Oh, Innocent Travelers, 2 black and 2 colorless. So it's a 4-drop. That's a 1/3. Better be good. At the beginning of your upkeep, any opponent may sacrifice a creature. If no one does, transform Innocent Traveler. Aren't you going to invite me in? On the back, it turns into Malicious Invader. It's a 3/3 flyer that gets 2/0 as long as an opponent controls a human. Aren't you going to offer me a drink? It's like if you refuse to sacrifice your little human, it's going to be a hard to kill. Sorry, a 5/4, 5/3 flyer vampire. I don't know if Commander has any thought about this, since it says any opponent can sacrifice a creature. This is not a great card though. You have to get things going right to have your 4-mana 5/3 flyer. Things have to be going right to have that happen.
Yeah, it's a little bit worse than just playing a 4-mana 3/3 flyer, but there are a lot of humans running around. And when it becomes a 5/3 flyer, it's pretty brutal.
I'd like it a
Uh,
lot more if it said at the beginning of your opponent's upkeep, so you could slam this down, then they have to start their turn by sacrificing something. As it is,
yeah,
they could just play some junky creature on their turn.
yeah. I think usually it'll do the thing. And especially if you're playing a humans deck, I would take it because the upside of a 5-mana flyer is real nice. Like that thing is a 4-turn clock if it gets in the air.
The opponent has to have the human.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of humans just
Oh.
generally.
No, I thought you were saying you
Werewolves.
should put humans in your deck. Okay, never mind.
Oh, no, no, no.
Um, I think this card's not as good as it looks. I think I would put it at like C minus.
Yeah, I think C minus is right. I think it can get pretty good. And it has like an A plus for art, especially the load. Isn't the loading screen in MTGA where it's
Oh
just
yeah.
staring you in the face?
I think so.
It's so
Because I
creepy.
remember seeing this art more than I've seen the card. All right,
Really eerie.
I got 3 more uncommons left.
This is a Skulking Pillar, a 3 and a black for a 4/2 vampire assassin that has when Skulking Killer enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-2 if that opponent controls no other creatures.
It's like the womp
Which
womp
is
of the set.
yeah, it's like one turn too slow. If it was a 3, if it was a 3-mana thing, it'd be great. It'd be super good.
If you're in for a 4-mana 4/2 most of the time, this is for you. But I think it's like D minus otherwise.
Yeah, D, yeah, it's like a D, D minus.
Yeah, it's cut. It's getting cut almost every time, to be honest. Yeah. Recursion. So we have Edgar's Awakening. It's 3 colorless and 2 black, so 5 mana for a sorcery that says return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's Raised Dead, I think. And
Mm-hmm.
it also says, when you discard Edgar's Awakening, you may pay 1 black. If you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So this is the instance of Madness, which is like an old Innistrad ability, where you can pay something on the card if you happen to have discarded it. The idea here is you discard it with a blood token, and you can pay 1 black to actually get the card into your hand. Not onto the battlefield, but into your hand. Finding Raised Deads, like we said, there's bombs in the set. Makes you want to do Raised Deads, or the Madness part of this. There's also ETBs and Death Triggers galore in this set. This card's actually been pretty good for me. Maybe because I've gotten a couple bombs already.
Yeah, I've definitely like straight to the battlefield bomb is great. I think the flexibility of this card makes it really good, and that if you're tossing it early because you have a blood token, you can get a cheap creature back. You don't really care about it. And late game, it might just buy you back your, you know, best creature, hard to deal with thing. So it's kind of like a reanimate and a raise dead in one. I like this card. I would not pick it over removal, but I would pick it over a lot of
Yep.
stuff.
There's actually a lot of incidental mill in this set, as it just so happens. There's a blue-green deck that's based around that, so you can get stuff in your graveyard, which turns this into a much better card. I think I'm taking this at in this set at like a C. It's usually in the D range, but I think I've taken it as a C.
For me as well.
And our last uncommon.
So this is a controversial card. It seems a wedding security is 3 black for a 4/4 vampire soldier that has whenever it attacks, you may sacrifice a blood token, and if you do, you put a +1/+1 counter on it and draw a card.
I've played a lot of the vampire deck, but not with this card. So have you played with this?
I have, and it's been strong. A 5 mana, if you can get the blood, a 5 mana 5/5 draw card on the attack, pretty good.
I'm down based on the fact that I know how much blood tokens you can get incidentally. I feel like this is going to replace itself not almost every time, but a good percentage of the time. You just need
Yeah,
it to survive and have a battle, survive an attack and have blood on the battlefield.
yeah. There's some situations in which it's not going to overcome stuff. Like there's a lot of 6/6 things.
This comes out down on
Um,
5. If they went first, they can play 6/6 on 6. Yeah,
yeah, so
the wolf.
it can definitely get blanked. But it's not that much of a cost.
You can play this on 5, have a removal card in hand, and then you can set it up a turn where they just can't even block this.
Yeah, and it's a threat of attack too, so they can't really, they sort of want to have two things that are better than this. They can't just have one thing that's better than this.
Yeah, I have not played with this, but I think it's good. I think just based on how much blood is lying around, now that we have an idea how much that is, I want to give this like B minus. I think.
A B minus?
Yeah, I think it makes
I'm
it out of
going
the C range because of how much blood there is.
with a C plus because it's a little bit of work to do.
Right. So now we're on to the rares. First one here is, I've not played with this, but I'm waiting. Concealing Curtains. It's 1 black. It's a wall. It's an 0/4 wall with Defender. It has an activated ability, 2 colorless and a black to transform it, and you can do that as a sorcery. It turns into Revealing Eye. It's a 3/4 menace. Whenever this creature transforms into a Revealing Eye or target opponent reveals their hand, you can choose a non-land card from it, and if you do, they have to discard it and then draw a card.
This is
I
such a
like
cool
it.
card. This is a really cool card.
What are you losing out? Oh, you're playing a 1 mana 0/4. It's just fine, just like that. Forget about
Yeah,
the rest.
you're not really losing anything.
No.
It gets evasion, it's card disadvantage. It fits anywhere into your how easy is it to have 1 mana lying around?
It's not terrible to just play this on 4. Play to transform into 3/4 menace that looks at their hand. I like the looking at the opponent's hand part like a lot. There's so much value in looking at their hand a lot of the time. It's not incredible, obviously, if there's one card in hand, but
Yeah.
you can do this on 3, and when you're doing it on turn 3, you're often looking at like 5 cards. Take away their
Yeah,
best
and
one.
I don't think it is. Is it optional? You don't have to make them pitch lands, right? You can.
Yeah, they don't have to.
You may choose. Yeah, so you can. If they only have bad stuff, you can make them keep it.
Eye Horror, solid card. I definitely like starting a draft with this. Probably put it at A-.
Yeah, I think A minus is right. It's just usually going to be a card,
It's not like you're
2
getting
cards.
aggro down if you throw this on 1 either. Does that job too.
No, it's just very flexible. Super cool card design.
Hmm.
Graph Reaver is 1 and a black for a zombie warrior at rare. That's a 3/3, so a 2 mana 3/3. Um, it has an exploit, and when you exploit something, destroy target planeswalker. Not very applicable. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, it deals a damage to you.
I thought this killed a. I thought other content creators were underrating this card because I thought it said destroy target creature at first, and I was like, holy crap! And then I realized it's only planeswalker. Lo and behold, the first time I
Oh,
saw this on the battlefield while drafting, player played this, exploited a creature, and did nothing because I think they thought it did that too. That's the first time I
uh,
saw this card.
I mean, it can be, it seems like a constructed or a commander kind of thing where, you're exploiting it to kill something and
Yeah, planeswalker. Yeah.
exploiting it. I don't know. It's
You can
a three
ignore the
mana three
planeswalker
three
part.
is
It's
or 2 mana 3/3 is not going to be where you want.
two
If it's
mana three
ping you,
threes, fine but not amazing. I'm scared of that ping thing. You can't get rid of this. But if you're playing an exploit deck, you can get rid of this. In which case, 2 mana 3/3 is beating.
yeah. Except the exploit decks are generally more defensive-y.
Yeah,
I'm trying to see what 17 land. Like, is this a good card data wise? I don't
I have a
know.
feeling it's not gonna be because you know why again? Big butts. Big butts being in
Yeah,
this set means I don't get to kill my card if I want to. Even I can just block it
yeah.
with my 1/5/1/4.
It's kind of like under. It's definitely well above under average for 17 minutes. Probably would not play this. Probably give it a C minus or
Yeah, it's
probably a
not.
D plus actually.
Yeah, it's not the first card I'm cutting, but it's not the last card I'm cutting. There's a danger on this card, but a 2 mana 3/3 is a beating if they don't deal with it, and it can block later on if it is hurting you. I think I'd probably give it C minus, but it's hard to identify what this is like going to be like in play. Obviously,
Mhm.
if there are more planeswalkers around, it would be better, but it's not. There are not. Valderian Bloodcaster is a 2 mana 2/1 vampire wizard. It's a flyer. Whenever a Bloodcaster or another creature, non-token creature you control dies, create a blood token. So recurring blood token creator. Whenever you create a blood token, if you control 5 or more Transformer, and it transforms into Bloodbat Summoner. It's a 3/3 flyer. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, up to 1 blood token permanently turns into a 2/2 black creature with flying and haste. It turns your blood into bats if you haven't used them. Very solid 2 mana 2/1 with incidental. Oh, 2 mana 2/1 flying with incidental getting blood. It's just gonna happen. The transforming part makes really hard for you to lose.
Yeah, and you don't lose It's just like once you get 5 blood, you don't have to. Um,
Oh, it makes you.
you don't have to sacrifice them.
No, but it makes you transform if you create a blood token. If you control 5 or more, it makes it transform. Not that you don't want it to.
Oh, there's like no downside in transforming though.
Well, it stops making blood tokens if it's on the transform side.
I think the upside is much better.
Oh, of course, of course. It's just there's
Like
a change in the card.
2/2 haste flying bats, and you get to make 5 of them.
It's just
Um,
saying. I think it's basically stopping you from hoarding like 10 and then
yeah,
transforming. Although
this
it's
card is good. I had the opportunity to play with it. I think in a draft, and it just kicks butt.
2 mana, 2/1 flyer. It's just beating in even if it does nothing else from the start of the game. Like that. I think A. Just give it an A.
Yeah, A minus. Yeah, it's pretty up there. I think
Once
A.
again, you can use those blood tokens for a lot more than turning them into bats if you really need.
Yeah. Demonic Bargain. It's gonna get probably an F straight up. So 2 into black for a sorcery. Exile 13 cards of your library, then search your library for a card, put it in your hand, and then shuffle. So in draft, 13 cards is already half of your deck.
It exiles them. It would be too strong if it just threw them into the graveyard for constructed purposes. So it exiles
Yeah.
them.
I mean, this is the chance of you exiling the card you really want is too high.
Even then,
And
tempo, mill.
yeah, I mean, maybe in sealed when you have 60 cards to play with, you can search for something you really need, but I wouldn't. I don't think I would just include it.
A decent percentage of the time you draft this, it's going to be in your bottom 13, 14 cards anyway, which means completely dead. So yeah.
Yeah, and when it's in those cards, you cannot cast it. So
Yeah. I mentioned this card a few times, and I can't believe I didn't remember the name at all. Dying to Serve. It's an enchantment. Interesting card. It's 2 colorless and a black. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards, create a 2/2 black zombie token, creature token. This ability only triggers once per turn. So I have a lot of blood in my sealed pool, and this card was one of my original 6 rares, so I figured I'll try it. I have 2 of those Thraben guys that surveil when zombie dies.
mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I tried to make this work with blood tokens, and you can do it on each player's turn. So kind of, it's not the most amazing card. It honestly does absolutely nothing to affect the board unless you make it. So it's not amazing. It's probably pretty bad in limited, but blood. The more I have, the more I want to play this. So it's a card that usually gets F around in limited, but it actually can suit. It can decently work if you build your deck around it in this format. What do you think?
Yeah, probably could build around B minus if you're doing that thing anyways. It's not a high opportunity cost.
It's a way to exploit, obviously, those zombie tokens. I'd say build around B minus as well. Look
Yeah,
to play it in black red. I think only because that's where you find the blood tokens.
right. Falcon Wrath Forebear, 2 and a black for a 3/1 flying vampire. He cannot block, but when he deals combat damage to a player, create a blood token.
I think it's a she,
Um,
but I'm not
oh, a
sure.
she, is it?
It looks like a matron kind of.
Oh wow. Yeah, I didn't notice that. He like I couldn't I
Well,
couldn't
we don't
see,
know.
but yeah, I guess it's a matron. Well,
Oh
this
yeah, it's got
person
like
is
a
wearing a
gown. I
dress.
like a gown going on. Anyway, go ahead.
Um, so it also has black, sacrifice 2 blood tokens, return Falcon Wrath Forebear from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it gives you blood, and it's not far off from giving it enough blood to get itself back.
It's
You can do it
recurring.
at instant speed.
Recurring blood generator helps get itself back. You can instant speed bring it back, but it can't block, so no ambush.
Yeah, it can't block, but you know.
One problem with this is there's actually a good number of incidental exile things going on. So it's gonna get sadly exiled some of the time, but I think it's pretty strong.
Yeah. Probably like a B plus.
So you throw this down on 3, it starts getting you blood tokens. If it gets you 2, it pays for itself. That's on top of the rest of the tokens you might get. I'd say this pulls me into black, so I'd say B plus. Sounds right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, if you have like a lantern bearer out, it's pretty sad, but
true. Maybe it's B. There's spirits in this format too. I'd say yeah, I think actually B. if it gets blocked, it's really sad. You don't get any. You get a 3/1 sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this format, yeah, it's a B. Next we have fourth to last rare in black. It's Headless Rider. It says it's a 3 mana 3/1, so black and 2 colorless. It's a zombie. Whenever Headless Rider or another non-token zombie you control dies, create a 2/2 black zombie creature. It's a great death trigger. It gives a death trigger to all your zombies that are not tokens to create more zombies. So it's a way to get a bunch of zombies. And at very worst, if it doesn't get exiled, you're getting a 2/2 when it dies.
Yeah, that's 3 mana that dies into a 2/2. It's pretty good.
It's no game-ending card that has to be dealt with, but it's just great value creature you're happy to have in your three drop slot with upside of zombie synergy. I think it's like, I think B sounds right.
Yeah, I'd play it at maybe a B. Yeah, probably B.
The thing is, yeah, it's. I was thinking B minus. It's not like you see this and be like, oh, I have to be in black. It's not that kind of a rare. It's just like a good stat value card. It's no bomb. It's just a solid creature.
Those heads flying around this thing are wild.
Headless Rider, and it's got several. It's all zombie heads. Wow. Next card we have.
So Path of Peril. Great name for a card. It's 1 black for a sorcery. It's with cleave. 1 black gets you destroy all creatures with mana 2 value or less. And cleave for 4 white destroy all creatures. Pretty expensive for a board wipe, but it's a board wipe. And for 3 mana, you can probably you'll at least wipe one thing.
So board wipe we have by invitation only in white. That's an incredible board wipe. I've not run into either one of those yet drafting, this or the other one. We also have Toxrill, I guess is kind of a board wipe. But I don't know. Have you played against this card?
I have never played against it or seen it played.
Not a value 2 or less. It's really going to depend on how much of the format is those. And I'm feeling like unless you're against the Wolves aggro, most stuff or a bunch of tokens, most stuff is going to survive the 3.
There's a lot of 2 CMC aggro cards that are being played.
And Wolves have especially a high number of playable 2 drops, I find. That's why they're better this set, I find.
Yeah, this card is flexible. 6 mana is not hard to get to, so I think it's really good in sealed because if it's sitting in your deck somewhere, a reset button's always good, and if you have it in your hand pretty early, it's not hard to get a 1-for-1, and it's not hard to get it's not crazy to get a 2-for-1. So I think I would play it all the time.
Sweepers are great to have in your back pocket until you need it. That being said, I can't give this one too high of a grade as far as sweepers go, but they always get like something like B plus.
Yeah, I think a B plus or B is probably good. I don't think you're ever gonna be like stuck with it. You're like, oh, I drew it and it's not gonna do anything for me. So B plus.
Sweepers used to be better. Like it's too easy to refill. I feel this might actually play more like a B in this set, but I don't know. It depends how much that 3 cost side of the card gets you. Next we have our second to last black rare blood. Hold on. Blood Vial Purveyor. It's a 4-drop, 2 black and 2 colorless vampire. That's a 5/6 on a 4-drop. It's Flying Trample. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player creates a blood token. And whenever Blood Vial Purveyor attacks, it gets 1/0 for each blood token defending player controls. This is one of those cards that people are not liking about this set, because if not answered, good night in a couple turns, because it's swinging. I mean, if it swings 4 times, you're dead, but it's probably only going to need to swing 3 times before you're dead.
Yeah, I think this card's an A. It's not the strongest, which is crazy, right? it's like super strong, but there's cards that are like way more busted.
I've had the blood
So
token that was given to me find me removal for this though. That's one thing that can happen.
yeah, this card I think is way more fair than some of the other ones in that it does set you up, the opponent up for finding an answer to it, which is cool, right? That's like that makes it more fair than like the card we're maybe gonna see next.
Trample.
It has
You
trample.
can't even like throw spirits in front of it. You're gonna die too soon. But yeah, you alluded to this card we're gonna see next, and it's probably the biggest groan of the set. Happens to be
You're
the
giving
only.
what grade are you giving the
Oh,
purveyor?
sorry.
I'm giving the
Yeah,
purveyor an A.
I think A as well. A, yeah. Um, this is the only great card I have in my sealed pool. It's called Dreadfast Demon. Oh, sorry, you can read this one.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say this is a. I'll trade you. I have a purveyor. So
I've only
anytime you
played it
want to trade
once
it
in
for
5 games so far.
if you want to trade it for the demon, anytime I'll take you up.
Oh, I see.
So a Dreadfeast demon is a 7 mana 5 and black for a 6/6 flying demon that has at the beginning of your end step sacrifice a non-demon creature. If you do, create a token that's a copy of Dreadfeast demon. So this thing, if unanswered, turns your entire board into 6/6 flying demons
If unanswered at instant speed.
at instant speed, because you have to have 2 removal spells to stop it if you let it go through one turn. So
I don't like
it's
often giving cards that are answered sorry, I don't like giving cards that are 7 mana 8 plus, but this gives you something even if immediately answered, as you said. Might have to break the rule. I think it's the downside is if you have no creatures, but it's not hard to put creatures in your deck.
yeah, and it's still a 6/6 flyer, which is not bad by itself. It's just a little bit overcosted if you don't have anything else.
It should be mythic, to be honest, because it's one of the cards that people are saying unfun if played against you, and
Yeah,
I've drafted
it's
it
definitely
once.
caused a couple sealed losses. Just you play it and you're pretty much winning the game.
You got recursion in here in the set even. Like if you happen to mill it, it's like easier to find it, which is
Yeah,
easier to
and
find your game ender.
the game's over fast. That's the other thing. It doesn't give you very long to find an answer. Some of the other crazy mythics, which are like win the game, give you a little bit of time.
Yeah, it's an A plus for me. Just
Ditto.
build your deck so you can get there. Lots of life gain to do that. Lots of removal to do that. So our first
Um,
mythic here, we have 4 mythics in black. It's first one is Henrikh Domnathy. It is a 4 mana card that's a 1/3, 2 colorless, 2 black. It's a vampire, flying. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose one that hasn't been chosen. So each player just sacrifices a creature. You draw a card and you lose a life, or transform Henrikh Domnathy. So it can come down as a 3/4 on the first combat. It is the beginning of combat, right? Yeah. It can come down at the first combat to be a flying Death Touch lifelink with the ability 2 black and a colorless. Each creature you control with flying, Death Touch, and or lifelink gets 1 elemental end of turn. So very baseline, it's going to give you a 1/3 flyer that has the option to turn into that 3/4 with all those abilities. Or it can draw you a card, lose your life, so replace itself. Or if each player sacrifices a creature interests you, which many boards it might, you can do that too before transforming into this flying Death Touch lifelink, which can buff itself
yeah,
and
very
everything.
strong card. I like it at A. It's just I mean 4 mana for a 3/4 flying Death Touch lifelink that you pretty much get immediately if you want it, and if not, you can grab some value.
I can absolutely see myself using one of the first 2 abilities. It's one that hasn't been chosen. Oh, so you actually are incentivized to wait to transform it. I didn't think of that. You kind of are
Yeah, but I mean,
incentivized to draw a card and then do the sack, or the other way around. Then finally get your attacking. Transforming it right away doesn't do much except give it 1 health and be a better blocker because you can't attack with it right away.
um, Well, it does pump things that are on the other side, right? Like it
Oh, if you have
does.
7 mana on your turn, yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can pump flyers, I guess, but
I think very often it's going to come down, draw a card, lose your life, and then next turn you're probably going to be swinging for 3 attack or more lifelink.
yeah, I mean, I actually like play because I don't know that if you put it on turn 4, you're not going to play the card you draw immediately. So I probably do turn 4 sacrifice a creature,
Oh, that's situational. That's of course, yeah, that makes sense. But I'm saying it's
but
probably often going to be a draw. I mean, if you have nothing to sack, you don't choose this because then you have to get rid of your bomb.
oh yeah, each player, so you have to lose something too. I forgot
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah. So I see it often just being the second choice, then the third choice, and swing
Yeah.
in for lifelink. Yeah, A. Nice.
All
The
right,
black rares are
Soren.
crazy.
Uh, I got to play with Soren actually. He was good, but my deck didn't do great. Soren the Mirthless, though, 2 black for a legendary Soren Planeswalker at Mythic with 4 loyalty. He has a +1. This is the first Planeswalker of the set, right? Yeah.
There's 2 3 mana
Um,
ones that are one's red and one is Kaya. So,
yeah. So we haven't either gotten to Kyra or Chandra yet. They're here too. But Soren pluses to +1. Look at the top card of your library. You may reveal it and put it in your hand. If you do, you lose life equal to its mana value. You do not have to put it into your hand, and you can pull lands from it for free. Create a -2 is to create a 2/3 black vampire creature token with flying and lifelink, which is a really sweet defensive ability. And then it's 7 ultimate is -7. Soren the Mirthless deals 13 damage to any target. You gain 13 life. I like this card. It's really strong. Um, basically, the play pattern is if it's early, you can always put it in, drop it, get a defender for it that has flying and lifelink, um, and then start plussing it to get card advantage. If it's late and you have a defensive board, you can just start getting cards.
pretty run of the mill of strong planeswalkers. It's got the card advantage plus, it's got the protect itself and pump out creatures minus, and the end game ending ultimate. Yeah, I like that you get lands for free. You don't even if you have to pay life for the plus, those lifelink on those vampires, flying and lifelink.
Yeah,
Uh, awesome card, obviously. A
I think 8 for Soren.
has the downside of it could die, but still get value. Second to last card here, the next in our cemetery trio, which is cemetery, not trio, cycle. 6 mana, 4/4. It is 4 colorless and 2 black pips. It's a zombie with menace when it enters the battlefield or dies. So this is going to happen twice when you play it, barring in exile. You can remove, you choose a card from a graveyard, and when you do, you can remove X counters from target permanent, where X is the mana value of the exiled card, or you can give a creature an opponent controls -X equal to the CMC. I actually drafted, no, I didn't draft it. Yeah, sorry, I did the draft with that Johnny organized on Matcherino and got this, and a Blood Fountain, and the Recursion card. So I essentially had 3 of these in my deck, and in and out, they did damage every time. So that draft went pretty well because of that. Um, it's just a really good card. It's double removal. It's like a giant chupacabra. That's tough to a chupacabra with lots of power and toughness on its way in and on its way out. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's got menace. It just destroys 2 things, exiles stuff for value. Really strong.
Build your deck around bringing this back. You're good.
I mean, it's in any other set, this would be an A plus, which just means I think the things like the Dreadfast Demon is like insanely busted.
I
But I
think I
mean,
want to
this is
give it A plus because of how often it's 3-for-1.
yeah, I think this is just still an A plus. I mean, it's like the category is just really awesome.
It's not like I play this, I win, but it just gives you such an advantage to winning. It's not one of those dream trawlers like, oh, I have to deal with this or I lose. But it's
Yeah, I mean,
3-for-1 so much.
it usually will kill something on the way in, and if it trades with almost anything in this set because you just have to. So it can't exile itself. So you can't exile. You
No,
can't trade
another
for a
card.
10/10.
The drawback is if there's an. I did run into this quite a few times though. There wasn't high enough CMC stuff to exile in order to kill what I wanted to kill. That does happen. You know what? I'll give it A. It doesn't say end the game. Like I like my A pluses to be like deal with this or you lose, kind of like the demon. So yeah, actually
Yeah, I'm gonna say A plus still.
A.
I think it's
We reversed. I started at A plus, went to A, and you went from A to A.
it's ended every game I've seen it come down in.
Our last card, we
I
can
did
talk
I
about
did beat
that.
it once. I beat it once.
Our last card, we can talk
Talk,
about that. Black's rares are crazy.
yeah, I mean we've given A's for 5 cards straight. Toxrill is a slug horror 7/7 that costs 5 and 2 black mana to cast. At the beginning of each end step, you put a slime counter on each creature you don't control. Creatures you don't control get -1/-1 for each slime counter on them. And whenever a creature you don't control with a slime counter on it dies, create a 1/1 black slug token. And then, if that wasn't enough, you can sacrifice a slug for black and a blue to draw a card.
Oh, it can sack itself.
And you can, yeah, you can.
In case they
That's an
put.
achievement. If somebody sacks Toxrill the Corrosive to draw a card to win the game, I think that they deserve
In case they put an enchantment on it that makes it not be able to attack or block, you don't have to use the rest of the card. The card's abilities to win. You can sack the slug, and get your card back.
yeah. Yeah. In case they put, and yeah, it's gonna eliminate their board. It
This
just
was the front runner
it's a board
to
wipe.
like my favorite card of the set. When I first saw it, I don't know which one actually is, but so it is a board wipe, pseudo board wipe, because it actually goes -2/-2 before it's your turn again. So at the end of each end step, it pumps out creatures, it draws cards, and also it's a giant creature that attacks well and blocks well.
Yeah, I mean, I've never actually seen anything happen after this card because the one time I cast it, they just instant concede. This is a card that's like never gonna like you cast it and win the game.
Of course, recursion. Like you have the dollhouse thing too. I mean that's a rare, but you don't need that recursion. But any recursion.
Yeah, it's just an A plus. It's
A
super
plus,
good.
super A plus. So what do we think about black overall?
Black is probably one of the strongest colors in mid. I think
Yeah,
it synergizes really well with um, or sorry, in Val, and it synergizes really well with mid. So if you have a lot of good black cards, continue opening them.
yeah. This is strong. I think black is more strong because of the blood deck it's involved in. The black white deck could be solid too. Not so much with the exploit, but still got something. Black might be the strongest color of all, and the rares most likely are the strongest of all the rare colors. So yeah, that's it for the black. We'll be back at some point for the red and green review. Till next time.